104.7 The Cave. Mike, the intern, Jay Stevens in the studio. It is Thursday. Time for Dark Side of the Stream.
What episode number is this?
136.
136 of these, and I think this is the first time we haven't had an audio issue right out the gate.
Hey, and you look great, too. Look at that. Oh, my God. We did just 3 years to figure this out.
3 years we've been doing this?
Almost. I mean, 50 weeks. Yeah, give or take a few that we've got vacations. Yeah, I mean, we're getting close to 3 years. This was Jay's pick this week, a documentary called The Longest Third Date. Pretty crazy story, which we'll get into. But I have a question first for Jay Stevens before we do that. So you see, my wife and I have been together for over 12 years now, married we just celebrated our 5th. So I never got a chance to like experience, the dating app thing, the I don't even know. Tinder,
Grindr,
plenty of fish, Match, all that stuff. I never.
I like how you went to Grindr second.
Well, that's because you always bring it up, and that's why it's like top of mind. But
if you don't know what Grindr is, Google it.
Yeah, Google it
right
up.
Now.
Just don't do it on a work computer. So I never got a chance to do it. You never got a chance to do it?
No, and I've talked about it with the girlfriend. I've talked about it. I really would like to make an account just to see
how many times you get matched. Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
you know how they
she's like, this sounds like I want to do it as an experiment for the radio.
It's for the job.
It's for the job. She thinks that it's a front for me just wanting to see more girls.
This is strictly for the job.
That's just the way it is. Me neither. My Tinder dating app was me performing on stage. Like I do that. If the girls are interested, they let me know. Right. But I mean, it would be cool to try this app experience. It sounds like it cuts out a lot of the middleman. I like you. You like me. Cool. You're into this. You're into cars and guns.
Yeah. It shortens it up. It definitely cuts to the chase in some cases.
It's weird.
You mentioned that DM thing. It reminded me of a story of a band I used to be in years ago. And he's probably one of my closest friends, was the drummer at the time. And he was single. And I was extremely drunk, and I just started in between songs saying, "Hey ladies, if you're looking for a good time tonight," I just kept putting his phone number out there, dude. Got so many texts, but it wasn't just girls, it was guys sending unsolicited pics and all kinds of things.
Good. That's good.
Bondo, I'm sorry about that still, man. I know that was a long time ago, but I still feel bad about that one. Anyway, same here. I never got a chance, but this couple, they did it. Seemed like the first 2 dates went really well. Yeah. And then on a whim, the guy said, "Hey, you want to go to Costa Rica? Flights are $200 round trip." Who would have said no?
Why were the flights so cheap?
Because COVID was starting to happen, and they decided to take a chance. And we'll talk about what happens next. Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave. .7 The Cave. Mike, the intern, Jay Stevens back in the studio. Dark Side of the Stream, episode 136, the longest third date. So as I mentioned, this couple got together. They went on 2 good dates. He was kind of a free spirit. She was down to do whatever, but she wasn't as open and free thinking, a little bit more sheltered. Yeah. But she was willing to give it a shot. And so she agrees to go on this little weekend stay with this guy
to Costa Rica
for
a third date, which that's very romantic and very sweet.
Her friends, most of her friends and family are like, "What the hell are you thinking?
This guy's gonna murder."
I would have said the same thing. Yeah, I would have if Jay came in here and said, "Bro, I met this chick, man.
Sometimes you do crazy.
We're gonna go to Costa Rica this weekend."
It's a good story to tell, though.
I would have said, "Dude,
it's a good story to tell." I've done some crazy stuff.
We all have, but I would have probably said, "Hey, man." get some reference checks and see if you can find any of those red flags before you head off to another country with
and so they did it because COVID was coming, so flights were pretty cheap. People weren't really traveling. Nobody knew what was going on, and I did the same thing. I flew right before COVID.
Yeah, you almost got stuck in Seattle.
I went to Hawaii. I went to Hawaii. Yeah, I passed through Seattle. Went to Hawaii. Literally, the world was falling apart while I was in Hawaii. I had to cut my trip short and come back because getting stuck in Hawaii sounds awesome. But I would have gone broke.
And you would have after
this
a week.
This guy got stuck in Costa Rica, but it seemed like he had money because he was cool, man.
The one from my understanding is like the resorts would put you up for a certain period of time, right? Because if you're locked down and if you, because we looked at going on a trip post COVID when everything started open, but they were still testing. And my fear was that if you test or you popped,
can't come back.
You couldn't come back for a week. And then that would have been like someone watching my kid for 2 weeks straight. I was like, I can't do that. It's too long. But then come to find out, I have some friends that are in Mexico that literally told me like after the fact, like, hey man, if you wanted to get out of the country, we could have got you that pass, no problem.
Oh,
so it wouldn't have mattered. And I think that it's just all who you know. It's all BS anyway. But like the guy, to his point, he documented everything on this trip.
Yeah.
In as so far as to say, like when they got to the airport, that's kind of when he started rolling on everything. And they got on the plane and it was empty. There was like 5 people on that flight.
But he filmed. The cool thing is that he kind of always filmed his life anyway, like video blogs. And that's just what he did. So he did it on this date thing and then got to document this all in real time. It's pretty amazing.
It is pretty amazing.
Like you questioned the validity of
it. Right?
I
will say the first thing I told Jay after I watched it last week was like, I go, man, it's good, but it's too slick, too perfect that they were rolling tape this whole time.
It's like a romantic, even my kid watched it with me because it was like a romantic comedy. Like it's like a movie.
It is. It definitely could have been. And I'm sure Hollywood's probably like, we have no ideas. This is a great idea. Let's make that. I'm guaranteed.
I don't know. I believe it. I feel like it's real.
It's just a little too perfect. It's like that guy who won the lottery, and they take him back up to the gas station and they're like, hey, we're going to film some B-roll of you just buying a ticket. And he buys a ticket and he wins another jackpot. It's just like, man, that's just, I don't know. I'm too perfect.
I'm believing it.
It's too perfect.
I'm a hopeless romantic, ladies.
I am too, but it's not about the love story. It's about how this guy's, I don't know. Anyway, we'll talk more next. Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave. .7 The Cave and Mike the Intern. Jay Stevens.
And this guy.
The cave is in here behind me somewhere. It's Thursday. The week's been long. It's Dark Side of the Stream. We're discussing the longest third date ever and on Netflix. Really cool documentary. Again, the couple basically went on a trip, got stuck in Costa Rica for several months, then they got stuck in Texas for several months. It was 6 months total they were away from their family.
It was the longest third date ever.
Yeah, I mean, and they basically had to live together and find
go with barely. It's already uncomfortable going on vacation with somebody you barely know for a few days, then being stuck for months.
And all you brought with you was enough stuff for a weekend.
Like
if I go to Chicago for 2 or 3 days, like my bag is this big.
Oh yeah,
right.
I carry I'm not even
trying to. I'm not trying to like create a bunch of outfits. Like it's bare minimum bones as I'm going through, and like it's just like one of those things that I try to not bring all this crap.
Oh yeah, when I go to Hawaii, man, I take one bathing suit, one flip flop,
and he's wearing it.
Shirts, that's it. And I'm wearing it on the plane.
He's wearing it there and back. But so yeah, that was a thought that I had about the situation. But again, back to what we talked about in the last break, it just kind of seems a little bit too perfect. But again, they documented the entire thing. They documented their experience. It worked out perfectly for him because I guarantee you he and that woman got a check from Netflix for this because
if you put this together and sold this to them, hey, good on this guy. He made a fortune. It's a great movie. It's
hell yeah.
It feels like a romantic comedy, and they went on some really awesome adventures down in Costa Rica.
Hell yeah. And again, the world was shut down. Most of us were at home and some of us were locked in because they, health issues and being pregnant. In my case, my wife was very pregnant when this thing was going down.
Dude,
I was the one making runs to the store. She didn't leave the house for the last month for the most part.
I remember that.
So and like that whole thing in my mind, everyone's experience is different. But if I didn't have any kids and I was just seeing some chick and we ended up being stuck in Costa Rica, I'd have been like, fine, dude, it's fine.
As long as you can financially float it.
Yeah, if you can make it work, I would have tried. I guess I would.
He was getting some good deals on Airbnbs because nobody was renting. So I guess maybe he didn't have that much money, but it seemed like he was pretty well to do.
Or he could have just taken the Jay Stevens route and put it on the car.
Put it on the car. We'll deal with it later.
We'll figure it out
later. Let's go.
This is future Jay's problem, not my problem.
Let's go.
I love it. Dark Side of the Stream. We'll get to our review next on 104.7 The Cave. Mike the Intern, and Jay Stevens back in the studio. Dark Side of the Stream.
After all these years,
after all this time,
we were doing so good with no audio issues, and then we screwed up the lyrics.
Screw up something. I don't know if I'd edit that one out of Facebook. I'll definitely. I said it so quick that it's going to be edited in the audio.
You didn't hear a damn thing.
It's definitely not going to be on the air. Either way, we are discussing the longest third date. Basically, they go through this ordeal, but again, they were vacationing for 6 months while the rest of us were stuck inside our house. Not too big of a deal.
Oh, one part. I got to chime in real quick. The one part, she didn't really tell her dad any of this. She's kind of lied to her dad about where she was going.
Well, yeah, because again, if my daughter was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go with some dude I just met in Costa Rica," I'd have said, "Bro, I will literally kill him, so you don't go. So make a choice."
So then, and he seemed like he was kind of a strict Asian father, which is a classic. So then when she was talking about she's gonna call her dad and tell him, but she still kind of omitted some truth. Hendrix and I were watching together, and Hendrix looks at me. She goes, "Dad, that's so sad that she feels like she can't talk to her dad about something." And I was like, "Oh, I got all the goosebump feels." Man.
That means you're doing good though. That's
right.
That's
I
the
said
thing.
Some dads aren't as close with their daughters as you and I.
Yeah, and that's the thing about raising your kids. Like your kids are going to do whatever the hell they want to, man. Yeah. You can be the most upstanding citizen, cool
Keep
guy,
an open line of conversation,
Sunday, whatever it is,
non-judgmental line of conversation.
Yeah, you have to be open with your kids because they're gonna experience life just like you did, and you want to have that dialogue open all the time because they want to be able to use you for advice when those things come up, as opposed to I can't tell my parents or they're gonna kill me,
and then it leads to problems.
And then that's just gonna be on their own anyway. So you might as well get them to talk to you because that is the best.
That was a special moment.
Best policy. It's really good. But yeah, it ended up being good because they're still together.
Yeah. Spoiler alert. Sorry. We shouldn't have spoiled it. But anyway, watch it. It's really good. Feel good. It's short. It's an easy watch. It's not this long drawn out thing.
No death.
Which also makes me think it was real because it wasn't so long and drawn out with nonsense.
There wasn't a lot of padding, and again, he let that camera roll as much as he could.
She didn't like the camera rolling all the time.
No, she didn't. He just kept it going, but it worked, and I'm sure they got a paycheck for it. I mean, they had to.
I think now it seems like, well, that's how it started, right? Somebody picked up on their story, and they wrote a magazine article about it. That he started getting interviewed, which is true. If it was fake, he wouldn't have all those interviews with TV stations while it was going on. So I don't know. I guess it's real. It's well done. Very well done.
If it was real, then he is the luckiest guy in the world. If it was kind of aided fake, which is what I believe, then he did a really good job, and he should definitely be in this business because he fooled Jay, and I'm sure he fooled a lot of people. But either way, check it out. It's a great documentary, nice little feel good documentary.
Yeah, good change of pace for all this serial killer.
Well, and speaking of which, screw that. We're gonna do the Manhunt Boston bombings for the next week's episode. It's on Netflix as well because they just celebrated the anniversary of that for the Boston Marathon. So we'll do that one. It's 3 episodes on Netflix. It's gonna be tough. So watch it, like in my case, while you're playing Zelda.
What's the rating we gave this?
Well, I'll go with solid 3.5 dates. Yeah, solid 3.5 dates.
I'll go 4 dates. It was good.
4 dates. It was good.
4 dates.
It was good.
All right.
It'll make a nice romantic comedy, which I'm sure we'll see in the next 5 to 10 years in LA all day. Again, watch these live on Facebook or YouTube every Thursday at 9 a.m. or on my show 9 or Jay's at 6, or you can download them as a podcast on our 104.7 The Cave app. I'm Mike the Intern. This is Jay Stevens reminding you
we watch documentaries
movies,
so you don't have to.
It's Last Letter Friday. It's Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave.